All right, well, welcome to Durham University. I'm very happy to see so many of you. Let me start with an apology. Let me start by apologizing for my outfit. I'm standing in front of you in my shorts. Unfortunately, I forgot my trouser. I forgot my trouser at home. I came from London yesterday. I thought that I had packed it, but it turns out that it's lying on my bed at home. So I'm in my trainers and in my shorts. Focus on my face and forget about the rest. My name is Pierre Chameau. I'm a professor within the law school, and I'm also the director of undergraduate admissions within the law school. I'll present to you today what we have to offer here in Durham as seen from my perspective as a member of staff, and then Elena, who is a final year student at Durham Law School, will then tell you a little bit about her own experience here in Durham. Let me tell you a little bit about me first. I have spent almost 10 years studying at university. So I've studied in 3 different countries. I love university. It's really the place where I feel most at home. I like the intellectual challenges. I like the intellectual exchanges. I like the people that you meet in a university settings. They come from all over the place. You share interests with them. It's just a great place to be. And that is my feeling as an academic now, but it was already my feeling as a student as well. So when I started studying in France first, then in the Netherlands, then in the UK. I met so many people. It was just a fantastic thing to do. So for me, university studies is just great. And I'm sure as you decide to embark on university studies, you will have similar experiences. I think the vast majority of people who go to university, their experience at university will be their best years ever. So I encourage you to do these university studies, whether it's at Durham or not. It's up to you. I will tell you about Durham today, and I hope that you will consider Durham when you apply. But again, at the end of the day, it's your decision. So let me tell you a little bit about the school first. Now, let me start with some rankings. Rankings matter to us academics. They tell us something about where we stand in comparison to other universities in the UK or internationally. And of course, it also matters to you, applicants, when you decide where to go. As far as Durham is concerned, as far as the law school is concerned, I think we are pretty good. So I've been in Durham since 2013. And we have always been very comfortably within the top 10 in this country. So I looked up a few rankings this morning because we just got a few new ones. So in The Guardian, we are ranked this year as number 6 in the Complete University Guide 2024. I don't know why 24, but never mind. We are 6 as well. We wobble a bit, we go down a little bit, we go up a little bit, but as I said, we are comfortably within the top 10 universities in this country, and internationally we are within the top 50. So that's pretty good. Now, the people that teach and that research at Durham Law School are experts in their field. So they have a reputation, international reputation, national reputation. So if you decide to come to Durham, you will be taught by people who actually know their stuff. Yeah. And you will be able to interact with them within a setting, within a university setting, which is pretty modern. So if you go over to the Palatine Center, that's the location of the law school, you will see that it's a very modern building with a lot of glass, a lot of wood. It's a beautiful place with lots of pictures. It's just a wonderful place to work. It's a modern building. I think it reflects also the general culture of the law school. We are a modern school. We are not a stuffy place, even though we have a long history. We are a traditional university. We don't see us as anything else than a modern school. It is reflected in our teaching, and I think it's also reflected in our intake and in the people that work at Durham University. So we are modern, but we're also very inclusive. There's a lot of work that the law school, the university has done on inclusivity. We are very good at it. I think we do a lot of effort in terms of inclusivity. And besides that, today is a good day to look at this. If you walk out, you go to the city center, you'll see that Durham itself as a city is a wonderful place. We have wonderful sunshine today. It's not always sunny, but if you look around, it's a beautiful place. It's a great place for students to live. If you want to go somewhere, you don't need to get into the tube. You don't need to look over your shoulder. As Elena just said, it's a safe place. It's a place where you can walk towards your college, towards your university. So it's a great university setting to be at. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the degree at Durham. So what we offer are two options. If you come to Durham, you can either do the LLB honors, which is a 3-year program, or you can do the LLB with a year abroad, which is a 4-year program. Obviously, it's a 4-year program because during your studies, you will go abroad for 1 year. So you can do that. You don't need to do it. You don't need to do the LLB with a year abroad. But certainly, if you want to go abroad, if you want to have an exchange year at university on the continent, somewhere in Asia, somewhere in America, you can do that. Yeah, and we generally encourage our students to do that, even though there is absolutely no obligation to do it. So you can do a 3-year program, or you can do a 4-year program. Now, as far as the 3 years are concerned that you're going to spend here at Durham, each year you will need to take a number of credits. So in each year, you will need to take 120 credits. Generally, modules are 20-credit modules. That means that you will study, generally speaking, 6 modules. There are some modules that are 10 credits, so they are shorter modules, and then obviously you would need to take 2. But generally speaking, our modules are 20-credit modules, which equates to 6 modules a year. The way in which the program is structured is that you start with compulsory modules in your first year. So everyone in the first year takes the same modules, so the same 6 modules in the first year. And I will tell you something about these modules in a second. Now, once you passed your second year once you passed your first year, in your second year, you will be given more choice. So there are still a number of compulsory modules, also depending on your career choice, because if you want to become a barrister or solicitor, there are different things that you will need to have set at university, within the law school, but you will have more choice within your second year. And then when it comes to your third year, you will have maximum choice. There is just one module that everyone takes in the third year, and that is the dissertation. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the dissertation in a second. But let me start by the first year courses. So these courses, these modules that are on the slide are the modules that all our students will take in their first year. So introduction to English law, contract law, tort law, UK constitutional law, EU law, and the individual and the state. So everyone takes that, and given that we have an intake of about 300 students each year, that means that our first-year students are taught in large lecture rooms. So something like that, or some other lecture rooms which has the capacity to accommodate this number of students in the first year. As I said to you, in your second year, you will have more choice. So there's one module that everyone will have to take, which is criminal law. So criminal law is a compulsory module. And then again, depending on your career choice, you might need to take trusts and equity and land law. But once you have done that, you can choose among the list of options that we offer, those options that you want to take. Now, I will give you an overview of options in a second, but before I do that, let me just say something about the third year. As I told you, in the third year, the idea is that you should have maximum choice, so you should be able to choose the modules that reflect your interests. There is only one module that all our students are going to take in the third year, and that is the dissertation. Now, what is the dissertation? Well, the dissertation is essentially a piece of independent research. It's 12,000 words, and our students are given the academic year to write this dissertation. They will be supervised by a member of staff. We will meet students regularly, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of independent research. So you need to do the research for it, but you can also choose the topic you want to write on. So the idea is that you as a student should choose the topic of your dissertation that you are interested in. There are some limitations on the choice that students get. Obviously, because we need to supervise you, it will need to be within the broad expertise of a member of staff. But given that we have a large faculty these days, we actually have a very large range of expertise, which means that the vast majority of our students will get their first choice of topic. So they will have the topic that they wanted to write on. Now, obviously, why do we emphasize this fact that students should be able to choose what they want to do? Well, because it is a big piece of work, and if you're interested in it, it will be far easier to do it than if you write on something that you have no interest in at all. So that's that. For instance, to give you an example of dissertations that I supervised this year, I think I had about 10 students that I supervised at undergraduate this year. I had students writing on cryptocurrencies. I had students writing on comparative law, I think on EU law, on money laundering, and I think that's it. So it's pretty large, pretty diverse as a group of students. But as I said, we have quite a large set of expertise, and we encourage our students to write on something that they are interested in. Now, I mentioned to you that you need to choose options in your in your second and third year. This is to give you an example of the options that we offer either in your second year or in your third year. These are not all the options that are available, so I could not fit everything onto the slide, and some of these options that are on the slide will not run each year. Why are they not running each year? Well, it will always depend on the member of staff who is teaching the module, and members of staff, among their tasks is to go on research leave, so they are not always available. But I think it's fair to say that we offer a large range of options each year to our students. If you look at the different options that are put on the slide, you will see that they are very diverse modules. So things like, for instance, law and religion, pensions law, tax law, law, sex and crime, but also more traditional topics such as topics in public law. There's quite a range of different topics that are available each year. Now, besides these modules that are law modules, we also offer students the choice to take one non-law module, so something that we do not teach within the law school. You will have the opportunity to go to another department of the university and to follow a module in that other department. Why? Well, because we realize that our students have different interests. They are not necessarily interested just in law. They might have interests in business or in languages, in literature. I don't know. And we are happy to accommodate these preferences by giving students the option to go to another department and take a course there, take a module there. That module goes onto your transcript, so it will count towards your degree, but the degree that you will get is still the LLB. So it's not like a law and something else degree, it's an LLB degree. It's just that you studied one module which is not a law module in another department. Now, let me tell you something about the way in which we teach. So there are different ways in which we teach. First of all, we teach our students in lectures. So as I said, in lecture rooms like this, especially in your first year, because, as I said, all our students take the same courses in the first year, so lecture halls will necessarily be big. But then once you decide to take options, you might also be taught in smaller lectures. That might be 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, depending on the module, and depending on the interest of the module. So we teach by lectures, large or small, but we also teach by way of tutorial. So what is a tutorial? Well, a tutorial is essentially small group teaching. The way that it works is that we set questions for our students. We ask students to prepare these questions, and then we meet the students generally within our offices. So if you go to the Palatine Center afterwards, you can see on the first or the second floor there are lots of little offices. That's where we meet our students in general for tutorials. These tutorials are small class tutorials. We have about 8 students in each tutorial. And then the idea is that we have an interaction with students. Because obviously, if I teach in lecture rooms like this, it's very unlikely that I will get to know any of the students that sit here. They might come and ask me a question at the end, but there's very little room for interactions. While the tutorials offer you this interaction. I can discuss problems with the students, they can ask me questions, and students can discuss things between themselves as well. So that's the idea of the tutorial. It's far more active, it's far more engaging than a traditional lecture would be able to provide, to supply. So we teach by tutorials, but we also teach by seminars, depending on the module. Seminars is something in between lectures and tutorials, so usually it's a smaller setting, and it also offers more scope for interactions. But I think seminar teaching is not the main method, and it really depends on the module that you are choosing. So I think the main method of teaching is by lectures plus tutorials. Now, how do we assess our students? Because obviously we need to assess you. How do we assess? Well, we assess you in different ways. First of all, by way of exams. Now, for the moment, we still do exams online. That means that our students get their exam papers online, and they sit their exam at home. They will have a 24-hour window to submit the exam. Everything is being done online. The exam is marked online, and that's it. Will that be the case next year? Will that be the case in a few years? I don't know. My feeling is that in the future we will go back to teaching to assessing in exam halls. But at the end of the day, when that is going to happen is out of my control. That's a decision for the university. So that's one thing we teach by way of exams. We also, we assess by way of exams. We also assess by way of essays. These can be summative essays. Summative essays are essays that will count towards the mark in your module. So you might have a module that only assesses by way of an essay at the end of the year, or you might have a module where you are being assessed during the year by way of an essay, and then at the end of the year by way of an exam. There are different possible combinations. You will get feedback both on your essay and also on your exam. So we will provide comments, and the idea is that this will help explain the mark that you are going to get. You could also be examined by way of an oral presentation. However, I would think that this is pretty rare these days, because oral presentations are always a little bit difficult to organize. So that's as far as that is concerned. Now let me say something about career support, employability. Now, we all realize that you do not come to university to stay at university forever. You come to university because because you want to progress into the employment market at the end of your studies. And so we are trying to help you to do that. So how can we help you improve your employability? There are a few things that can be done. First of all, you can go to the Careers and Enterprise Center. That is a center that exists at university level. They will offer you advice on careers and so on. But also at the level of the at the level of the law school, we have done quite a bit of work in terms of trying to improve the employability of our students. We have a former partner from Slaughter and May, who used to be a student, actually an undergraduate student here in Durham many years ago, who then had a very prosperous career at Slaughter and May. And after he retired, he decided to come back to Durham and to give something back, if you will. And he's very much focused on improving the employability of our students. So he has launched a number of initiatives. For instance, he has written an employability handbook to which all our students have access. What does it offer? Well, it offers you advice on what you need to show if you want to apply, for instance, for a career at the bar or a career as a solicitor. He also launched a module, specific module that students can take, which is also focused on improving employability skills of our students. It's an option, it's not compulsory. There are various mentorship schemes that run. There is one mentorship scheme that essentially pairs a student with someone that is in the profession. That might be a solicitor, a barrister, whatever. And then the idea is that this person that has started his or her career can offer you, as you students, advice on applying for jobs. Yeah, and Elena might be able to tell you something more about that in a second. We organize various events for our students. So you have law firms that come up to Durham. So they will offer you opportunities to network, to meet people in the profession. We also have other events, guest lectures that you can attend. You can meet judges, active or retired. You can meet people from the bar. You can meet other academics and so on. We have various research centers that you can join. So for instance, I'm running a research center, and we each year take a number of students that join us, that join the research center. We then essentially encourage them to organize events under the banner of the research center. That, of course, is then something that they can use not only for networking purposes, but also for their CV. So they can put on the CV, I was a student representative here and there, and that is also something that can help with applying for jobs later. And then something different that is more about the student experience, if you will. There are plenty of student societies that you can join. I'll leave that to Elena. She has a great slide on the different societies that are at offer at Durham. Okay, so this is a slide on entry requirements. Now, let me start by telling you that I am not making decisions on admissions. Yeah. So if you apply to Durham, I'm not going to look at your application. Yeah. I'm the director of undergraduate admissions, but actually I'm not doing admissions, if you want to put it this way. So the admissions at the operational level is all dealt with at the university level. So there's a university team who looks specifically at each and every application, and then they make the decisions. Now, if they have questions about what we require at the level of the law school, they come to me. But at the operational level, I am not in charge. I am not looking at individual applications. What I put on the slide are our basic entry requirements. Now, these are not... there's nothing magic about them. You can find them online if you look at them. Our standard offer is for an A-star AA. Now, depending on your background, you might be able to apply for a contextual offer, And if you qualify for contextual offer, your requirement or our requirements will be lower. So that might be AAA or AAB, depending on the scheme, depending on the program. But the standard offer is for A-star AA. Now, besides your A-levels, we will also look at your personal statement. Now, in terms of personal statements, there's a question that comes back in these meetings is, what should I put in my personal statement? Well, I can only tell you in the abstract. I think what you want to say in your personal statement is why you want to study law, what is your passion for the law, and how are you going to cope with the demands of a law degree. Because a law degree is intensive, and so we want to know how you will be able to organize yourself, or how can you draw on your experience to show that you have the organizational skills to deal with the demands of a law degree. Besides your personal statement, we also ask applicants to take the LNAT, so the Law National Aptitude Test. Now, the LNAT is not something that each and every university in the UK requires. There's just a group of universities that requires it, and we are among them. The LNAT is not administered by Durham. They have a separate center, and there's a separate webpage that you can consult to find out more about deadlines and so on. My advice in terms of the LNAT is that you prepare for it. So don't set a date and then just take it. It's not going to work out. The LNAT is actually kind of a difficult test if you are unprepared for it. So it consists of a multiple choice questionnaire and an essay part. The essay part is relatively brief, so you will need to be able to formulate an argument in a relatively small space. And then the multiple choice question part can be difficult if you are not used to the way in which questions are asked. So my advice to you is that if you take the LNAT, prepare for it. You can find samples on the webpage of the LNAT, use the samples, and get a feel for how the questions are being asked. Okay, I talked about contextual offers, so I don't have to say anything more about that. There are still 2 more slides that admissions has asked me to add to my presentation. So this is from admissions. It's about what they look for in applications. It's not really anything secret. It's pretty plain what they are telling us here, but you might still want to take a picture if you find it useful. You can also talk to admissions. You can go to the Learning and Teaching Center and actually talk to them if you have any questions about admissions. They are there to help. So that's that. And then there's a final slide on college allocation, which admissions also asked me to add to my presentation. The law school has no preference for any kind of college that you choose. It's all up to you. It's nothing that the law school has any interest in. So it's really a choice that you need to make in light of what you think the best college is. Okay, that's as far as my presentation is concerned. Elena will now give you her presentation about her experience in Durham, and then at the end of her presentation, we will open up the floor for questions. Then you'll be able to ask whatever you would like. Let me just get...
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Elena, and I'm a pharmacist, so I just finished my last exams a few weeks ago. I'm going to tell you about life as a Durham law student. So first I'll go through a couple of reasons as to why I chose Durham. The first reason is the collegiate system. So I found this really appealing because it gives you this automatic community as soon as you come to Durham, which is a lot smaller, so it's a lot easier to get to know people, to kind of feel like it's a place like your new home. And it's also very unique. Only a couple of universities in the UK do it. It also allows for you to get involved a lot easier in sports and societies because everything's just at a much smaller scale, so it's a lot easier to get involved in various things. The teaching style is also one thing that I found really great. Pierre mentioned that you have a variety of lectures and tutorials or seminars, so just having that balance of being able to learn through a lecture, so a professor kind of chatting at you, and then also tutorials where you can ask more questions. It's more discussion based, so you can speak with other students and you can ask your tutors questions as well. Another reason was the variety of extracurriculars. So there's tons of sports, music, drama, anything really to get involved in. Durham is, I think, the #1 for sport in the UK. So if you like sport, then it's a great place to be. I highly recommend going to look at Maiden Castle, which is our big sports centre, because it's really, really nice. And there's also tons of music to get involved in. If you really like music, there's tons of choirs and other bands that you can get involved in, and you might have a chance to perform in the cathedral, which is quite special. And another reason was that Durham is a very quaint and safe town, so that was something very personal to me because I grew up in a smaller town as well, so it just felt a little bit more like home. And it's also very safe, so if you go out on a night out and you're walking home, it feels very safe. And it's also really nice to walk around town and see familiar faces. So that's one thing that I really liked as well. And it's also very green. So if you can go on walks and see nature as well. It's basically just on your doorstep, no matter where you live. So now I'm going to go into 5 things that I wish I knew before I came to Durham. And these are to do with the course specifically as well. So the first one is the research excellency at Durham Law School. So not only do you have a wide variety of different areas of law that are being taught, but you also have a lot of support within the law school, within different modules that you pick and kind of more generally. So in terms of module options, as Pierre mentioned, you have a wide variety of choices, and you already in your second year can pick quite a lot of different options. Here are just a couple of examples. I chose the first 3 actually, and the other 2 are just 2 other examples. And then there's a lot of academic support as well. So each student gets allocated an academic advisor that you have every year. Sometimes it changes depending on if your advisor leaves for sabbatical leave 1 year and then you'll get a new one. But basically it's a mentor that you have throughout your degree, and you can go and ask them questions, whether it's about career prospects, whether it's about a particular course you're taking, whether it's about something that confuses you in a course. They're just really there to give you any kind of support that you need, and you can really build that relationship over time, which is also really helpful when you need references for various things later on in your 3rd year when you're applying to either a job or a master's or whatever it is that you want to do. And then every tutor or lecturer also has office hours, so if you have questions about a particular lecture, a particular aspect of the course that you want to go chat with them a bit more about, they have basically an allocated time during the week or on one of the days where you can just pop into their office and ask them any questions or have a discussion about something. And that's also really nice because even if you don't take a particular subject, you can still go see that tutor, because if you're interested in maybe taking that module next year, you can just go ask them questions as well. And then we also have lots of guest lecturers and speakers that come, so various barristers, solicitors, firms come by. We had Lady Hale come do a speech last year, which was really great. And just a lot going on, probably too much, but it's a nice variety, so you can kind of pick and choose what you like. And again, dissertation choices, you have a wide range of choices that you can do. It can be really anything to do with law, as Pierre mentioned, some of his supervisees, and there's a really big range of various areas of law that you can go into. So the next thing I wish I knew about was module flexibility. So this kind of reiterates what we already mentioned, but in first year you have kind of the set modules that everyone takes, the same 6 modules. And then in second year, you have a lot more choice. So you need to take trust and land law if you want a qualifying law degree. So if you want to continue to become a barrister or solicitor, then those are the 2 you have to take. And then criminal law is compulsory anyway. And then you have 3 optional modules. So these are, again, just 3 that I just put in there. And then in your third year, you have a lot of options. So you have 4 optional modules and your dissertation. And if you want to take 10 credit modules, that's also a choice. So you would basically take one course in the first term and then be assessed basically towards the end of it, and then you would have another course in your second term. So that allows you to have a bit more breadth, I guess, in terms of what you choose, because you can take more, you can have more courses, so you could have an insight into more areas of law if that's what you want to do. And then you can also apply for a year abroad, and that's usually, I think, in the beginning of your second year, because you would go on your year abroad in your third year, and then you would come back and finish your law degree in your fourth year. So this one I think is really valuable to know. It's schedule flexibility. So this is my schedule, so my 3 years that I had, and it will vary but depending on who you are, what your interests are, what you end up taking. But in your first year you have 6 hours of lectures a week, and you have 1 to 2 to 3 hours of tutorials, and this will depend on when your tutorials fall, because you won't have the same tutorial every single week. They'll kind of rotate through. And you'll have 6 formatives, which are basically practice essays. So you get allocated an essay, and then you have 2 or 3 weeks to write that essay, and then you'll get feedback from a tutor about how you did. And that formative, so it's called formative because it doesn't count towards your final mark of that module. And then you'll have 5 final exams, so those are written at the end of the year in May, and then 2 summatives, which are basically, those would count towards your final mark, and those would be throughout the year, kind of coursework based assessments that you would write. Again, kind of you'll have 2 to 3 weeks to write them, and those will count towards your final mark. Then in second year, I had 6 hours of lectures and 1 to 3 hours of tutorials, so quite similar to my first year. Then I had 6 formatives, 6 final exams, and 1 summative. So I chose modules that all had final exams, but one of them had a part of it was 30% was a summative. So basically 30% of it was an essay that I wrote, which was due in March, and then the rest of the 70% was through a final exam. And then in my third year was a bit different, so I had 2 to 3 hours of lectures and then 3 to 4 hours of tutorials or seminars. And that was because I wanted more kind of interaction, I wanted more discussion-based teaching rather than just lectures. And so I had 5 formatives, 3 final exams, 2 summatives, and 1 dissertation. And so the really nice thing about, I don't know how it is in other universities, but I really like this about Durham, is that you have a flexibility to pick and choose towards, and tailor it towards your strengths. So if you prefer writing coursework, so you like having 2 to 3 weeks to get a question, do your research, and then write it, then you can pick modules that are assessed through that kind of structure. But if you prefer having final year exams, you can pick modules that are final year exam assessed, if that makes sense. And also if you prefer being taught in a specific way, so if you prefer being spoken at like this, then you can take lecture-based modules. But if you like seminars, tutorials, more interaction, then you can take the modules that have that kind of teaching style. There's also a lot of career support. We have lots of mentorship schemes. So you have your academic advisor, which you automatically get allocated, and then you also have various schemes that you can participate in through most of the law societies. So we have a bar society where they'll pair you up with a current barrister or someone who's in pupillage. So if you're writing your pupillage applications, you might be paired with someone who's a current pupil, and they will be able to help you kind of through that application process. And there's the Law Society that also do a mentorship scheme, and they'll basically ask you to fill out a form with your kind of your interests in which areas of law, and then they'll look at the connections that they have with current practicing solicitors or just practicing lawyers in general, and they'll pair you up with someone, and you can ask them questions, ask them for guidance on applications, or just in general any kind of questions that you have. One thing that I also found really helpful was the alumni network at Durham. So, for example, I would just go on LinkedIn and I would just kind of find some people who had just recently graduated or who were previously law students at Durham, and I would just ask them, I've seen that you did your training contract at this firm, can I ask you a few questions about, your experience? And pretty much 9 times out of 10, people would respond and be happy to either set up a chat or just answer questions via writing. So that was really, really helpful, and I think that just the fact that we both went to Durham University was just that link that they were happy to help, because I think they probably had a very similar experience as well, and just having that network was something that was really helpful. Then we also have really proactive staff, so we have staff that are also have practice as barristers, have practice as solicitors, or just have a really good past in academia. So you've got a wide range of staff who can help you and talk to you about their experience or their legal journeys. And for example, for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after uni, so I would just go chat with like various people about their experiences and their journeys. And it's just really helpful to get an idea that not everyone's journey is like set, you know, day for day, so to say, or year for year, and it can really change as well. And then we also have great career service. So I've done a mock interview before at the Career Centre. I haven't actually used their CV. They have like a 360 CV service where you basically just send them your CV and they'll look at your CV with you and discuss it with you, which is quite helpful. And they have various other workshops as well, and tutorials and things that are online. We also have a variety of awards. So if you score kind of the top 1, 2, or 3 places in certain modules, you could win an award or even an insight opportunity. So depending on who sponsors the award, you could get like an open day at a firm or a barrister's chambers, which can be quite nice. And we also have lots of employer presentations. So in first term, there's actually like a specific law careers week where a variety of firms come. So we have we have like where all the like firms come together, and you can just like walk around and chat with the people and their representatives. And then we have various chambers come and do presentations. We have companies come, law firms, that will do a variety of different presentations and workshops as well. And then one thing that's really great, which I have found has really helped kind of career progression, is positions of responsibility throughout the university. So whether that's you play a sport and you're the captain, or you're the social secretary of a society, or president of a society, or you work for the college bar, anything that kind of puts you in a position of responsibility where you have kind of tasks that you're allocated can be really helpful when you apply later on for jobs, for internships, for masters, because it shows that you're proactive outside of your degree as well as inside of your degree. So I just think the skills that you gain from being in a position of responsibility is invaluable and can be really, really helpful to show within your applications that you're unique in whatever kind of way, and that these are the kinds of skills that you can bring to the job in addition to a law degree as well. And again, lastly, tons of workshops as well throughout the year. Then, so the next thing is independent learning, which I think is an important one, because I think at school you have a lot of teachers that support you and guide you through sixth form and A-levels and everything. But at uni, there's not really anyone there to tell you, oh, get this assignment in, do this, do that, make sure you do the reading. It's really up to you. And so time management and organization are very, very important, and just being able to kind of create your own schedule and manage your own time. And I wish I kind of had known this a bit better, because I was kind of just thrown into it and had to kind of sort it out. But it worked out fine. But it's just kind of finding the right balance for you, and that will be very personal and independent, or dependent on every person. So the next thing is the ease of trying new things. So at university, you have the opportunity to try anything you've ever wanted to do. Especially in the law school, we have a lot of different law societies. So if you like writing articles, there's tons of different journals that you can get involved in. There's the research centers as well that Pierre mentioned. There's lots of networking events, so we have lots of firms come by and they do like canapé events or different workshops. We have the Bar Society that organizes mock trials. We have the Mooting Society that organize moots. And there's pro bono projects as well, and various different kinds of events that you can get involved in. Then there's also tons of sports as well, both college and university level. So that's also one thing that's really great about the collegiate system, is that if you want to do a sport but you don't want to do it at a really high level, and you don't want to commit to having to go to training every single day of the week, you can just do it at college level, which might be like 1 or 2 times a week and is a lot more flexible. And that just gives you that extra kind of availability to do sports that maybe you've never done before, but you don't want to do it at like a really, really high level at DU is what it's called, like university level. But it still can be competitive at collegiate level because you're obviously going to compete against different colleges, and that's also quite fun as well. And there's also a variety of different other sports and fitness related activities such as like martial arts, mountaineering, hill walking, climbing, dance sport, yoga. There's really anything for whatever anyone is interested in. And here's just a list of a variety of different societies that we have at Durham that you can get involved in. Beekeeping, Caledonian, anime, karaoke, lots of different things. And this is just a snapshot. And we also have a range of associations that represent minority students, so international students, LGBT+, mature students, people of color. And they also organize a variety of different events throughout the year to help you integrate into university and to guide you through the start of university. So to finish off, I just put a little kind of schedule together to see what a day in my life looks like. I'm an early bird, so I get up quite early most of the time. And it just kind of gives you an idea of what my kind of day would look like. Your lectures will be set every week at the same time, so once you have your schedule, you'll know at what time and what day you'll have certain lectures. And your tutorials will also always be on the same day, but it'll just vary between the different courses and the different weeks. So you basically, once you have your schedule, you're able to schedule everything else that you want to do around that, and it won't really change except for the tutorials that will come up ever so often. But it's quite nice that you can then decide, okay, if I don't have this lecture this time, I can just do this other thing. And then here's a day in the life on the weekend, which is a lot more flexible. And there's also opportunities to go travel a little bit if you want to escape Durham. So you can go to York, Edinburgh, various other places. We've got like tons of lovely coast in Northumberland. You can go to the beach. It's just like a 20-minute drive, about 30-minute bus ride away. And there's various societies as well that do day trips, such as hill walking and other societies as well.